when I initially decided to go plant-based vegan, I had never heard of the term vegan. Mm-hmm. So really, I used to listen to all these motivational tapes, like, you know, everything from Joseph Murphy to, you know, Tony Robbins. And I was listening one with Tony Robbins, and he used to do these retreats where on the retreat, you would do nothing but drink green smoothies and eat plant-based foods. And all these people talked about all of this energy that they would have throughout the weekend. And when they left, they would just sustain it. And so I figured, well, Tony always says it takes 21 days to create a new habit. So I said, I'll do it for 21 days. There's no way I'm going to do this for a lifetime, but I'll do it for 21 days if it can lose me 5 or 10 pounds and, you know, I get some energy back. And so in 21 days, I think I lost about 17 pounds.
Wow.
And so seeing that, I had literally paid for all kind of stuff, including trainers. None of that kind of stuff worked. And I eat plants for 21 days, and I lose 17 pounds. And now I'm like, okay, this might have a little bit of magic to it. So I decided to do 60 days. And in 60 days, I lost 45 pounds.
Wow.
And the most noticeable thing that happened was my high blood pressure was no longer high anymore. It was normal. Wow. And it wasn't just normal, it was really good. Like when I got my blood pressure checked, the doctor, he had to check it like 3 times just to make sure. Mm-hmm. And so that was really the point that I started to sort of look at the healthcare system that I was in and all the education that I learned, and started to think, well, maybe this is not it. And maybe food really is medicine. And because I look a hell of a lot different, you know, now I got a visible neckline, my skin looks different, I look younger. All of the patients who were very familiar with me were coming into the hospital, seeing me and saying, what the hell happened to you?
Now, did they think you were sick? Because I find it interesting when people see you lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time. Sometimes they'll ask you, like, are you okay? Are you sick? And I'm like, no, I'm not sick.
Yeah. My family thought I was sick.
Yeah.
My family, my patients, not so much so, but my family definitely thought I was sick. Mm-hmm. And that's probably because we do have some obesity in my family. Mm-hmm. And because I lost the weight so quickly. Mm-hmm. And typically when you lose weight that quickly, it's because you are sick. So, you know, I did have some family members who like voiced a lot of concern about, hey, are you okay? Yeah. But the patients at the pharmacy were, a couple of them were like, man, you look like you got the Benjamin Buttons disease. Like you're reversing. Your age is reversing. And so, you know, after kind of telling them what I was doing, that was the point that I started to feel like a hypocrite. Mm-hmm. Because as I'm like giving people essentially a plant-based prescription, I'm also handing out these prescriptions that, you know, I was prescribed. And I witnessed myself reversing those conditions within myself. And so that's when I started to feel like the hypocrite or a drug dealer in the pharmacy.
So at what point did you realize, like, I can't do this anymore? You know, like I have to make a change. Like what brought you to that point? And was it a difficult decision for you, or was it like, oh, this is easy? Because being a pharmacist, you go to school for a very long time. You're a doctor. Yeah. And I'm sure you spent a lot of money for your education. So how was it to walk away from that? And what was the catalyst that made you walk away?
Man, the funny thing is that in the initial phases, I believed that I could do both. Mm-hmm. And it's quite possible I could have, because the truth is that unfortunately, no matter how much information I give people and how many cases I can show people like, hey, that disease state you have, you don't have to live with it. Mm-hmm. People are still going to do what they're going to do, which means that they're going to be on medication. Mm-hmm. And so in the real world of thinking, the unfortunate side is that I'm going to meet people who are on medications who want to make the transition. So I have to know both sides.
Yeah.
And so initially I thought I could do both. But again, like, I think what started to weigh on me was my conscience, in terms of, like, as I began to learn more and more and more, it started to weigh on me more and more and more. And also, in addition, the more people I told or gave the plant-based prescription to and told them what herbs to use, and they would come back 30, 60 days later, they were reporting the same things.
Yeah.
And more people were telling me, oh, it helped my diabetes too. Oh, it helped my autoimmune condition too. And so it just started to show me, like, oh, this can actually help everything.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like, when you find your faith, sometimes when you find a connection with God or whoever you believe in, you want to spread that truth out. You want to tell everybody what it changed you, what it did to you. And you feel so passionate about it that you want to help other people. So it kind of sounds like similar to that.
Yeah, I think what happens is that I think, in a sense, we're all searching for a purpose. Mm. And I believe our purpose is how we want to serve the world, God, and this whole collective. Mm-hmm. And I think once we figure out what that is, like what that purpose is and how we're going to serve this greater collective, mm-hmm. once you figure that out, it's hard to walk away from that. And I always tell people that's the difference between having a job and finding your work in life. Your job, it can fire you, you can quit, mm-hmm. you got to interview for it. Your work in life is not something you interview for. It's something you can't be fired from. And so that's what I discovered in this. I was
Amen.
Like, okay, this is my work. Mm-hmm. Like, I may not make six figures ever again, but I will definitely always be full, helping people reclaim their health, helping people rediscover themselves. Because I really feel like when you get your health back, that is when you can really start the journey to really discovering your highest version of yourself. Yeah. And so, after a couple of months, after that discovery, I just decided to leave. I left and I just decided I was going to take a couple of months off and then I'd go from there. And so ended up leaving the job at that point.
Now, in your book, you talk about, to me, it sounded like an eat, pray, love journey. You kind of traveled all over the world. You went to Japan and studied with, I don't know how to pronounce it, the Okinawans.
Okinawan centenarians. Yeah.
And they're kind of like the oldest population in the world because they're so healthy. They live for so long. And then you went to India and studied like yoga and meditation, and then you went a couple other places too. So did you purposely seek out those places, or was it something that just naturally aligned and then kind of brought you on your journey to where you are now?
The funny thing was, like, after I quit my job, it seemed like everything started to align. Instead of me like trying to force things, like I felt like getting into pharmacy school was like, it was easy for me, but initially I was trying to get into medical school and that was so tough. Got in, but decided to go to pharmacy school. Mm-hmm. Pharmacy school was so hard. All right, so I finally get out of that, and then I get into the hospital and working for the FDA, and that's so hard. It's hard work. Mm-hmm. And then finally I leave that job, and everything after that was just easy. It didn't feel like I was working. It felt like I was waking up, having the opportunity to go play every morning. Mm-hmm. And so every opportunity, so when I moved to Japan, that was an email that came out of nowhere, and they asked me if I was interested in the opportunity. I thought it was spam mail, so I deleted it like at least 4 times. And then I finally responded to it, saw it was real, and talked to the people. And in a split second, I just made a decision. I'm going. But I literally, from April until like July, like did everything I could not to take the position. I mean, I didn't respond to their emails. They would say things like, "Hey, what is it going to get you to come?" And I'm like, pay me this and then I'll come. And I just made some astronomical number. They're like, okay, when can you come? And so like everything just seemed so easy. So when I moved to Japan and I lived there for about 4 years and I figured like I learned everything I could here. I really, at that point, everybody was looking at me like I was crazy anyway, because I mean, I had this very promising career I had received awards for, and, you know, I threw it all away and moved to Japan. Like, who does that? And so everybody was looking at me like I was crazy anyway. Here's this kid from the hood who he finally becomes a doctor and he just throws it all away. Like, everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy. And so, like, when I left Japan, I was in no hurry to come back here and, you know, like, to people who thought I was crazy. So in my mind, I was like, let's learn more. I was like, they can't be the only people who can teach me. So I did go to Bali and spent some time there. I went to Thailand. Bali is very famous for a lot of the Balinese healers. So that's why I went there. Thailand is very famous for using herbs in their food. So that's why I went there. And Vipassana meditation. Went to India for yoga and Ayurvedic medicine, also meditation. And then Africa is also known for herbs. So several countries in Africa, then Peru, then Honduras, and then back here where I wrote the book. So I really didn't plan any of those trips out. It was just, all right, I'm gonna go here because, you know, like, I don't have a next move. My next move is learn more. And, you know, each time I would learn something and I would get to a point where I felt comfortable, it was just time to go and move on somewhere else and learn more.